He was set to speak to the media on Thursday morning. He didn't need to wait that long because he's now committed to Florida State. The Seminoles have their new starting quarterback, for all intents and purposes, out of the transfer portal in the form of Boston College, former Boston College quarterback Thomas Castellanos. Joining me to speak about that right now, Michael Langston, senior portal analyst, senior recruiting analyst, Warchant.com, Warchant TV. Michael, I think we've got about 5 videos out this week on the plan at quarterback, and this player has been the centerpiece for Florida State kind of all along, hasn't he?
Yeah, Thomas has been kind of the guy they've circled around, and certainly there's a lot of history, both from with Gus Malzahn and certainly I think FSU in general, because that's a kid that they recruited out of high school. Ironically, at that time there wasn't a fit set to do it then because of, I guess, their situation of just who they had in the fold. But now there's an opportunity, and here he is. And I know there's going to be different views of this, but I think you're getting a hell of a dynamic weapon, playmaker, when you watch this kid play. Hayes Fawcett broke it tonight earlier. Obviously, him committing this early didn't really surprise me, because the initial thing I got from when he was coming in for the visit, or it was set up, was this will go pretty quickly. This will go fast. I think both sides kind of know where they're at, and this was just kind of like to finalize it, probably to meet and ask a few questions on the official visit, and then let's get to work, basically. And just a guy that, like I said, fits everything. The offense that they're going to run is going to execute. We heard from Coach Gus Malzahn today at the pressure, and it was pretty clear they're going to run the ball. And so to do that, you have to have an effective game breaker that can also run the ball. And I think Thomas is exceptional at that. I've covered him a lot when he was at Ware County, ironically, the Ware County Gators. But a really good explosive talent. And I think a lot where people will watch him. I think overall, I think he had, like, in his whole career, I think it was over 60 touchdowns rushing and over 60 touchdowns passing in that 4-year career at Ware County. I think he started almost every year. A guy that is definitely an explosive weapon. Sure, there's questions that will be about the inconsistency of throwing the ball, but I think overall, incredible pickup. And then, heck, if you want to compare him against somebody good, he went against the team that went 13-0 for FSU in 2023, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns. Damn near upset FSU that day. Probably, I think, the closest regular season game, if I'm not mistaken, Tom, that they had
Yeah.
that year. So a guy that certainly can be effective even against really good teams. And I think when you factor in the fit, the comfort, and knowing what you want to run, because let's face it, let's call it like it is. FSU has to win now, based on all the changes they did, and I think this kid gives them a chance to do that.
Yeah, in that season, Florida State goes to overtime with Clemson, but Michael, they needed a penalty on a third down to extended drive to be able to put their knee in the turf in Chestnut Hill to beat Boston College, or else they're
Yep.
punting back to Castellanos with under 2 minutes to go. And if they score a touchdown, then Florida State's perfect season is not to be. I'll be honest, I'm not totally on the other side of this, because this is a very polarizing choice by Florida State. And you know that, Michael, you've seen it
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
premium recruiting board. I'm not in love with it in the grand scheme, but here's why I agree that this is the path that we're walking. I mean, this is not about what should be, it's what is. Gus Malzahn is the offensive coordinator. Gus Malzahn needs to run his specific offense. And in the market right now, if you're looking at different quarterbacks who are capable of running what he wants to run, this is a fit. But that's where I'm coming in and saying, I don't know if I want to run Gus Malzahn's offense. Well, Tom, too bad. Gus Malzahn is here, and he's going to be running his offense. So if you're going to run it, you got to go all in. You can't bring in a pocket passer to run what Gus is going to need to, especially, Michael, when they're trying to overhaul the offensive line. In short, you're going to need a dude who can move. Unless they brought in, the Chiefs' offensive line, you're probably going to need a dude who can move. And this guy's a 1,000-yard rusher from a couple of seasons ago. If you're going to bring in a mobile player, this is the level of mobile that you're looking for.
I'm sure I'll get hate mail. I like it. Like, I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I'm not going to say I love it, but I like it. But I like it for so many reasons because, like I said, you have to win now and you have to run something that you feel like is going to be effective with the new staff. And um, not only you have Gus, but you also have Herb Hand. I'm sure there's some kind of connection where he's communicated with him, and I'm sure there's some kind of communication there. It's just I feel like when you measure all this of what you want to do, and if you're and we've heard Norvell after he had his the recruiting rap, he talked about we're going to fix this right now. This isn't going to be a fix where we're going to do it a little ways down the line. And to be effective to what they're doing, let's just play hypothetical. If you say Luke Cromhook is still there and you're starting him, how much shift are you going to see in your offense in a year compared to that? And then you compare it to what you have with Thomas, who I believe has 2 years of eligibility that you can work with at a guy that's comfortable. I think it's you have to like just the situation of what they're going to do. And yeah, he's a very explosive playmaker. Whether it's like I said, he threw for 300 yards against that really good. That was a really good Seminole defense too, and he torched them. So I think overall, if you look at his career, I think even when he got hurt before he later lost the job, he had 18 touchdowns and 5 picks, if I'm not mistaken. So it wasn't like he was having a
Yeah.
bad year. He got injured, and then sometimes when guys get injured, they lose their job, and that happens. But I think overall, I like it. Am I like completely 100%? Hey, it's going to work completely. I don't know. But I think overall, with the logistics and everything that you need, going into the season, I think Thomas is a guy that you have to have.
Yeah, this is where we totally agree. You got to make the most of what you've got, and then you've got to flip it quick. You don't have time to wait on a younger quarterback to develop and take losses as you're waiting for a younger quarterback to develop. You got to bring in somebody who can make an impact now. That's what Castellanos brings to the table. I think we're going to be frustrated with it's going to be the same argument, Michael, in the season, because there are going to be some weeks, I can already see it now, where you go, oh my God, this guy's one of the best players in the conference. And then there are going to be in some weeks where you say, did he lose us the game? I'm not sure, but Florida State has to get to a place where they're over 500, making some noise, and they're
Yes.
showing clear signs of improvement.
Yes.
And this is a guy that can help get you there. Before we go for this video, Michael, just Casey Concepcion, one of the top receivers available in the portal, listed Florida State in his top 6. Just any intel you have on that, because I know people are going to be coming to the premium recruiting board, but they're not just going to be looking for breakdown of this story. They're going to be looking for all kinds of other developments that you've got going on.
It's interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of interesting things going on. That was interesting because he wasn't really. We didn't hear FSU mentioned, and they're obviously previously recruited him. I know Mike obviously previously recruited him before. I remember him when he out of high school, and he came in there, and there was interest, and then eventually he landed at NC State. But FSU was really high on his list, but we never heard anything about FSU. And then, bam! All of a sudden, Pete Nakos drops his story, and bam! There's FSU in the top 6. From what I hear, there was a call made that that it seemed to engage interest. Now, I don't know where that call came from, or if it was just somebody that was close to him or whatnot, or if it was somebody regarding FSU, but there was something there that engaged the interest. And I think they are certainly in the picture, and we'll see what they can do with it. Obviously, there's no visit set up yet, but I think that's one to certainly pay attention to, and I think that's even more vital now that you have a quarterback, at least a player can at least connect with, because before it's kind of you didn't know who's going to be guy. And yeah, they're still going to go through all the spring stuff and to see who's the guy, but it kind of feels like at least you have an idea of a guy that's played proven quarterback in D1 that's played at Boston College in Central Florida, and certainly one that could be the guy next year. So I think that certainly helps, and it can help you boost in recruiting. But it's just news is dropping. It feels like every minute.
It is. That's why you want to stay tuned to Warchant TV. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button so that when you open up the app on your phone or you go to YouTube, you'll find us on your home page or your home screen. It saves you a ton of time. It's super easy to do. That's always free. But if you want to join us at warchant.com, remember it's $1 for 7 days of access, followed by 50% off an annual subscription. I'm telling you, the list of things that we are doing right now on the Premium Recruiting Board, the Tribal Council, it's exhaustive in the best of ways. This is the month that we've all been waiting for since Florida State was 1-4 and 1-5. I think everybody on staff was saying, all right, let's see what December's all about. This is the month to join us. Warchant.com. You will not be disappointed. Michael knows. He knows. Yeah. He's putting ice on his fingers because of all the typing he's been doing the last few days, the last few weeks, really. It's very busy over there, Michael, so I think we want people to join us, don't we?
We do. It's a great time, and this is heavy work season for everybody. Not just the FSU staff, but it's going to be a lot going on. There's going to be visits coming up. I think a lot of visits actually next week, Tom, where it's really going to heat up, and you want to be a part of that. I mean, we're gonna certainly share everything that is possible that's going on. Maybe by then there's a wide receiver coach. Hopefully we'll see. But that too is something you want to keep track of. If maybe they're going to add a linebackers coach or whatever new addition they'll have, whether it's a portal or a coach. This is the time, because you can't find a more exciting time than what it is right now as FSU retools. I'm not going to say rebuild, because I don't think that's existence now with the portal. Yeah. It's more retool their roster and get it the way they want it. And this is where it starts in the month of December, where we're going to see a lot of activity.
As a fan, this is so much fun. As a staff member, this calendar can go die in a fire. But
yes,
join us very, very soon on Warchant TV. I'm sure we'll have more breaking news on Thursday. You're going to have the Jeff Cameron Show, 1 o'clock. That'll be back on schedule. We were both out sick today. Wake Up Warchant available on your pod feeds in the morning. And I think we're still going to get Thomas Castellanos for an exit interview now of the program at Florida State. But be on the lookout for that tomorrow as well. Michael, thank you as always for your time.
You got it, bud.
All right, we'll talk to you next time, everybody, very, very soon, right here on Warchant TV.